And Ron Jaworski was on radio today, and he said what he's watching now with you guys reminds him of the greatest show on turf. What do you think of when you hear comparisons like that?
We play on grass.
Welcome to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's proclaimed the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans. It's week 16. You got a lot to look forward to if you're a Steeler fan. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash. We're going to bring you our Steelers preview show. They're taking on the Baltimore Ravens this week at Baltimore. The Ravens upset Pittsburgh 23-20 the last time they played. Mike Vick was at quarterback. The offense wasn't good, blah, blah, blah. That feels like a millennia ago. Yeah, I mean, that was just an all-around bad game for the Steelers. They need this game. They're hungry. They're playing hard right now. 6 straight games scoring 30 points. They're averaging 27 points for the season. We just got to keep it rolling, I feel like.
Yeah, and on the other side, the Baltimore Ravens, they never really had a chance this season. They were done before the halfway point. They were 1-6, and their only win, the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, I mean, they lost Terrell Suggs early in the season. That pretty much ruined their defense. We weren't high on their defense coming into the season, and without him, we knew it wasn't going to be good for them. And then they lose Steve Smith for the season. They lose their top running back in Justin Forsett for the season. And then finally, they lose their quarterback for the season as well. So it's been a terrible season for the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm looking at a picture of Steve Smith here, man. Is he high?
Looks pretty ripped to me.
He does.
Before we get too deep into this is a special day in Steeler history. Do you know what today is?
Nope.
Do you know what happened on December 23rd, 1972? The Pittsburgh Steelers won their first playoff game on Franco's Immaculate Reception, man.
Was that the Immaculate Reception? Very nice.
It. Love that dude. Still don't think it was a catch, but nobody cares because he caught it.
Well, he caught it, but it was an illegal play because the defender touched the ball first.
Right, that's what I meant.
That was beat nuts. You couldn't do that.
Believe it.
But yeah, now, who's going to be running a quarterback this week for the Baltimore Ravens?
Preliminary reports, and this is only Wednesday, say Ryan Mallett is on track to start for the Ravens.
Yeah, they went through Joe Flacco. They had Jimmy Clausen in there, Matt Schaub in there.
Yeah.
None of them played too great. Matt Schaub, we know he's...
pick six machine.
Yeah, he's just ridiculously terrible. But Jimmy Clausen, I mean, he didn't play well for him, but I think he was their best option, and I still think he's their best option.
He seems like he's going to be a solid backup for his career, and I mean, that's not a knock on the guy. That's better than what most people can do. Santa Clausen. Ryan Mallett, if he starts, I mean, you've had no time in the offense. You know, you already got kicked out of Houston for having a bad attitude, and I know that's why he fits in Baltimore, because they're all a bunch of studio gangsters, but I just don't see him being able to do much of anything with such little time. That's pretty much what Vic's problem was. He didn't have enough time to learn the offense and really get into the flow of it, and Pittsburgh just wasn't able to pick up a victory in that game. And this is going to be a totally different game for Steeler fans this week.
And Mallett, he doesn't have many weapons around him. In the backfield, Buck Allen, he hasn't scored a touchdown yet this season, has only averaged 3.8 yards per carry, so it's going to be tough for them to get the ball moving on the ground. In fact, they only have 7 touchdowns on the ground all season, and Joe Flacco has 3 of those, so they do not score on the ground. And in the passing game, I mean, Kamar Aiken, they're throwing him the ball like he's an elite number 1 wide receiver. He has 105 targets already, and that's not being the number 1 all season. Obviously, Steve Smith was being targeted a ton when he was healthy. Kamar Aiken is being targeted a ton because they have nothing out there. There's Chris Givens out there. Crockett Gilmore, I mean, they really have nothing out there. Jeremy Butler's a guy you can look at. He's starting to step into that number 2 wide receiver role, although he's not really a number 2 wide receiver. But against this Steelers secondary, I can see him having a decent game in terms of fantasy or something like that. I just can't see how this offense is going to be able to move the ball, especially since this Steelers defense has been good against the run all season. Now, I know the last time they came out, Justin Forsett actually ran the ball pretty well against Pittsburgh's defense, but even though we weren't high on Justin Forsett, he's still a better running back than Buck Allen is, and I see Baltimore having a lot of trouble running the ball, so it's going to be on Ryan Mallett and these mediocre wide receivers to get it done, in my opinion.
The Steelers are 21-18 all-time versus Baltimore in the regular season. They're 10-9 at Baltimore. But the Ravens have not swept a season series since 2011. So I don't really think they're going to do it this year. And now, historically, Steelers-Ravens games have been close. 3 points or less is pretty much what the line is almost every time. This line I'm seeing around 10 right now. I'm still a little sketchy of that. Pittsburgh minus 10. The only teams that have blown out Baltimore this year were Seattle and Kansas City the last 2 weeks, and then Arizona beat them by 8 points. Other than that, they didn't lose by more than, I think, 5 points all year long. And it's not all on the defense. Yes, the defense is bad, especially without Terrell Suggs, but Baltimore's offense has actually given up 5 touchdowns, maybe 1 or 2, give or take, to the opposing team's defense this year. So they're not helping them out at all. This kind of reminds me of the Tommy Maddox era, not the 1 year that he did good, but you know what I mean? They're just really trying, and the offense is just getting in its own way, and it's killing the defense. I think the defense would actually be playing a little better had Joe Flacco stayed healthy the whole season and not turned the ball over so much.
Yeah, the injuries definitely played a part in why they do not look very good right now, but we can't forget they really weren't a good team all season long.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't good when everybody was healthy as well.
I didn't expect them to win the division, although one of these two teams have won the AFC North 9 out of 11 times since 2002.
Yeah, but the Cincinnati Bengals on the rise, A.J. McCarron and company.
I read an article from the Baltimore Ravens writer, one of them, I forget his name, that said this rivalry has lost steam. Do you agree?
No, not necessarily. I mean, obviously, when one of the teams is as bad as Baltimore has been this season, what do they have, 4 wins or something like that? I mean, the rivalry is not going to live up to what you believe it is, but Baltimore will be back. They'll be a better team in the future. They'll get better, and the rivalry will come back.
The article said that New England is both of these teams' rival more than each other because New England beats both of them.
Well, that's not a rivalry.
To me, Pittsburgh-Baltimore is a rivalry for the ages. I mean, this goes back to Pittsburgh-Cleveland, kind of. You know, I know they didn't get to take the history or whatever, but these have always been chippy games. I expect it to still be a chippy game. Anybody who thinks this is just going to be a wash for the Steelers, Baltimore wants to beat Pittsburgh. They know they're not making the playoffs, but you know what? They can screw us out of the playoffs. Not completely, but they can at least help by winning this football game. They're going to come out. This is their Super Bowl this year, really. I mean,
well, they got to play Cincinnati, too. They could mess with them.
Right, but I think they would rather see Cincinnati make it than Pittsburgh. Not that they would lay down for Cincinnati, but I really think that they'd rather beat Pittsburgh and, you know, potentially lose to Cincinnati, however you want to say it. But the Ravens just hate Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh hates the Ravens.
I agree.
What about the cornerback rotation? Tomlin said it's going to stay as is. You think Blake should lose more time?
Definitely. I think Boykin should get more playing time just because of what happened in the second half last week compared to what happened in the first half. And we know, I mean, Blake can't tackle. He can hit hard, but we seen Mike Mitchell. He was a hard hitter last season, and he just couldn't tackle, and he got blown up. And it's the same thing with Antoine Blake this season. In fact, I'd just sit him and see what happens with Boykin. I mean, we gave up a 5th-round draft pick, 4th-round draft pick. What was it?
I think it's going to end up being a 5th after all said and done.
5th-round draft pick for this guy. And really, it took, 10 weeks to get him even involved a little bit?
And he's a free agent after the year, so it's not even like you can say, oh, well, at least we might play him next year. We might not even have him next year. I think Mike Mitchell might be the only starting defensive back under contract next year. Dead serious.
Well, we got to get Willie Gay back for sure.
What about these Pro Bowl snubs real quick? Cam Hayward, that guy should be in the Pro Bowl. Marcus Gilbert, he should be in the Pro Bowl.
I mean, it's possible. I could see why they don't take someone like Cam Hayward, though. I know he's a beast, and he definitely deserves it, but just the way he has 7 sacks, too, which is a pretty good number for the Steelers' defense and the way they use their defensive ends.
It's like the 3rd year in a row he's had 7, I think, in this defense.
But, I mean, just the way they play it with their DNs, there's guys that have the better stats. I agree, Cam Hayward should be in, but I'm not going to say it's a snub and you should be mad about it or anything like that.
There was a Miami player that said if he gets asked to be an alternate, he's not doing it because he was snubbed. It was one of their safeties.
Really?
He's going to get a free trip to Hawaii. He would go.
Believe it. What do you think about Max Williams for Baltimore, man? Is this guy their future tight end, or have you seen anything great out of him? He has 24 receptions for 199 yards and a touchdown this season. I thought he'd be getting more involved by now, especially since Crockett Gilmore is not a beast tight end himself.
I think it's just a little bit of, it's hard as a rookie to run routes. I mean, rookie wide receivers, they usually say it's the hardest thing to come in and dominate right away. At tight end, you can at least dominate blocking if you're a big physical blocker. But route running, it's all so different, especially with the spread offenses in college compared to the pros. When you lose 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks now, I think it is for Baltimore, you don't really get a lot of consistency. You're not getting to work with the same quarterback in practice. So I think it's a combination of a bunch of different things for his down year. I do think he still has the potential to be good. I mean, we've seen Heath Miller fly under the radar as a Pittsburgh fan, as a great blocker and a good pass catcher. And in other offenses, Heath might have caught almost 100 balls, if he played with Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or something. I think Williams will kind of have around that same type of career. He's going to come up with big catches, touchdowns. He's going to be a big fan favorite, a very reliable target. But I don't think you'll see him put up Gronkowski numbers or Jimmy Graham numbers like when he was with the Saints. I think you'll see him at the top of tier 2.
Yeah, I was just asking because the Steelers were actually targeting this guy, and Baltimore took him before Pittsburgh had a chance to do so.
We ended up with Jesse James.
Yeah, and I like Jesse James. I think Max Williams probably is the better tight end out of the two, though, and he's had the better season. I mean, Jesse James really hasn't got too involved, although he's come up with a 2-point conversion at one point or something. I don't think he has a touchdown, correct?
I don't think so.
No.
You wonder if we would have drafted Williams, would he have got a little more time and Heath got a little less time, or do you think it would still be around the same split?
I mean, the way Heath Miller does it, I don't think Max Williams would have overtaken him this season. Heath Miller's been a huge part of this offense.
Always is, man. That guy's a beast. Are we going to be able to get D'Angelo Williams going this week? Last week we threw the ball 55 times, I think, somewhere in that range, dropped back 58 times. Williams only ran the ball 17 times for somewhere around 23, 26 yards, something like that. We got to get him going a little bit better than that. I
mean, you want him to, but I don't think it's a must in this game, to tell you the truth. They showed it last week. They could go out there and win without the running game and D'Angelo Williams against a good Denver team.
Yeah.
And now they're playing a Baltimore team where they got to get the run game going towards the playoffs and be able to run the ball in the playoffs and everything. But really, in this game, Baltimore, they can stop the run, no doubt about that. Opponents only averaging 3.8 yards per carry on them, and they only allowed 7 touchdowns on the ground this season. So they do a good job against the run. Now, if D'Angelo is unable to get it going in this game, I think just the way that Baltimore's secondary is so bad and the way that Pittsburgh's offense is playing right now, putting up huge points, and Big Ben's throwing the ball around. He's pretty much averaging 50 pass attempts per game over the past 5 games or something like that. But I think they'll be able to come out with the win, even if D'Angelo Williams doesn't get it going. But I do want, it would be nice to see him come out with a big game here and show you can run against the better run defenses in football.
I'm not going to hate on him either. Like some people I've heard, I'm not saying he's going down or trending down or whatever, but I agree with you. I would like to just see him late in the season still come up against a good run defense and show us that he can still do it. I mean, even 70 yards. I'm not saying he's going to go for $150 and 3 touches. I just want to get him in rhythm a little bit, I don't want to expose Ben to all the dropbacks and all the sacks because, Baltimore they're still going to get after him. Whether they do it regularly or not, this is a different game, Pittsburgh-Baltimore. It's just one of those weird games. It's like Cowboys-Giants, Packers-Bears. The teams sometimes just play to each other's talent. I don't even know how to explain it. So I don't want Ben dropping back 50 times. If we have to do it to win, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to say, whatever. But I would rather expose Ben a little less and keep getting D'Angelo a little bit of work.
Baltimore's been pretty good against the tight end as well, so you may not see Heath Miller targeted as much in this game either. But I think the receivers, Antonio Brown, obviously he's a beast, but
right.
Martavis Bryant and Marcus Wheaton are all going to come up and have big games here and be able to torch this secondary this time around. In fact, they had a chance to torch the secondary with Michael Vick in at quarterback and a drop here by Antonio Brown. I think he actually had 2 drops in that game, to tell you the truth. But if Big Ben was in that game, we said it coming right out of that game. If Big Ben played in that game, they would have killed Baltimore in that game. Just blew them out by like 25 points at least. And I think that's something that's going to happen this week, even though it is in Baltimore.
Who's better, Julio Jones or Antonio Brown?
Well, I like Julio Jones' size, but Antonio Brown he's like no other receiver to ever play the game. He can stop on a dime running 25 mile an hour and head in a totally different direction. It's something you don't see out of pretty much. You see it out of slot receivers like a Wes Welker type guy. He can do it, but not out of a guy that can just do everything like Antonio Brown does. He plays like he's 6'4", but he could also play like he's Wes Welker.
Julio has 118 catches. Brown has 116. Either one of them get to, 145? I think the record is somewhere around there.
I thought Harrison had 144. I don't know what the record is, but no chance. I mean, we said, Antonio Brown had 15 receptions 2 times this season, and he's the, what receiver to do it? Second or something?
First and then one season. In the same
First
season.
in one season. Okay, yeah. So he needs to do that 2 more times. And I think that's asking a little bit too much. But I tell you what, if you're going to do it against anybody, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns, to tell you the truth. So there's an outside possibility, but I would say a 1% chance of that happening, if that.
Ben would have played all year. I think Brown had a really good shot at the catch and yardage record.
Maybe next season, man, if they can stay healthy.
Be sweet. I'm not huge on records. I just want to see something fun.
I like records. It keeps guys' names relevant for years. But really, it's hard to break down anything in this game. I think defensively, I just don't see how Baltimore is going to be able to get it done. If you stop the run like you have all season long and force whoever's in a quarterback to pass, as long as it's not Joe Flacco, because he can beat you by the deep ball. While Jimmy Clausen, Matt Shaw, Brian Mallett, none of these guys are going to be able to beat you. So just stop the run, and you're going to come up with some takeaways in this game. I just don't see. I know Baltimore-Pittsburgh plays close games. And I said it all week. If Pittsburgh's going to lose one more game, it's probably going to be to Baltimore just because of the type of games they play. But they've just been ravaged by injuries. I just don't see how Baltimore can keep this game close in any way.
Are the Steelers going to get to the quarterback? Baltimore doesn't give up a lot of sacks.
No, they don't. I mean, between Jimmy Clausen and Matt Shaw, they've been sacked 6 times since they've been playing. So they don't get to the quarterback very much. But Pittsburgh, they bring a pass rush like no one else. Usually teams have a couple guys that get to the quarterback, while Pittsburgh, they have 7 guys that can get to the quarterback. Yep. So I think they will get to the quarterback a little bit in this game. Maybe not 5-6 times, but they'll get to the quarterback. And really, I don't know if they have to do anything, though, besides go out and just play their game.
What's your key to victory?
My key to victory? I guess my key to victory is going to be Big Ben. Just go out there and play like you know how to play. If you can pass against them, because, I mean, if they go out there and stop the run and Big Ben has one of those games he had against Cincinnati where he throws 3 picks, then Baltimore has a chance to win his game. So just Big Ben, go out there, stay patient, take your time, make the right throws. Don't try to do too much, because I think the defense is going to be able to shut this Ravens terrible offense down. And that's pretty much it. It's hard to say there is a key to victory in this game to me.
I just think it's mistake-free football. Just go out, play within the system, play within your talents. Don't anybody try to do too much. Just keep doing what you're doing, really. I mean, the offense has put up 36 straight weeks. The defense shut Denver completely out in the second half of last week's game. Baltimore's offense, nothing about them scares me. Nothing about the defense scares me. They're a very mediocre team. They've played some close games. They've got blown out in some games. But the injuries have just caught up to him. The bad quarterback play because of inconsistency at the position is going to catch up to him. If Ryan Mallett starts this game, it's going to be scary good for Pittsburgh.
Let's hope so. I've seen them lose to bad teams. Really, they haven't had a terrible, terrible upset this season, unless you want to count that Ravens game. But, again, Michael Vick was in, so whatever.
They also, I mean, I know they lose to bad teams, but that's also in years when expectations are real high and they're usually riding. Like, they have to win right now. I know they're riding high, but it's because it's a necessary thing. It's not like they were 8-0 and, then they ran into Cleveland and somehow end up losing. So I think that's the difference between the Steelers right now and the Steelers of the past, where they have had a letdown game against an easier team.
And let's not forget, in December, Pittsburgh just rolls.
10 straight wins in December. They've scored in 13 straight quarters or something like that of football.
I thought it was 20-some.
Oh, I can't even remember. I lost count.
I think it's like 27 now or something.
It's ridiculous.
Some ridiculous
so many quarters.
numbers. So what's your final prediction here? I'm interested to see if you think it's a blowout as well.
See, I just don't think it's going to be a huge blowout. I know Kansas City and Seattle were able to do it. but it's a division game. I don't know. I feel like Baltimore's going to come in and give it everything they have. I mean, this really is their Super Bowl for the year. Yeah, they can stop Cincinnati from getting to a certain seed in the playoffs, but they actually have a shot at knocking Pittsburgh out of the playoffs. I know Pittsburgh would probably have to lose to Cleveland again next week too, but all the Ravens see is stop Pittsburgh from making playoffs. So I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think Pittsburgh wins this game somewhere around like 24-19 or 24-17.
I agree. I think Baltimore's going to come out and give it everything they have. The problem is they have nothing. So I'm going to say Pittsburgh comes out, gets over 30 points again, keeps that streak going, and does it easily. They're going to win this game 38-12.
So you'd take them at -10.
I'd take them at -14.
Good Lord. That's scary. Oh, Lord. Well, Steeler fans, let us know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and clicking subscribe.
No crazy predictions?
The crazy prediction is the Steelers are going to win.
That's not that crazy. If you said Baltimore was going to win, that's crazy.
No, we don't need anything crazy to happen this week. We just need to win. Any good comments?
Yes, Travis Leitner said, playoff bound, baby. This doesn't look like the Steelers who lay an egg on teams we should beat. So playoffs, mofo.
Mofo? I like it. I like his enthusiasm.
I agree with everything he says right there.
Love it. Well, that's it, fans. Merry Christmas to you, Dash. Merry Christmas to you, fans. I hope you liked your Christmas present, Dash. You can wave it around as the Pirates lose to the Cardinals.
I'm going to hang it up in your room.
I'll burn it.